All right, one last look at your traffic and weather from the Wetzel's Automotive Traffic Center here on your it's Thursday morning here on the game. Couple accidents, one at Augusta Highway and Kitty Walk, another one at 302 and South Lake Drive, and the one at I-20 eastbound at Highway 1. Today, high of 88 with some thunderstorms mixed in. Right now, 79 in Columbia. Traffic and weather on the early game. Oh, 9 o'clock on your Thursday morning. Welcome in. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head and Jack Veltri along with you as always as we creep you closer to yet another weekend and the final weekend without college football. Week 0 only 9 days away now, which means we're only 17 days away from South Carolina, Virginia Tech squaring off in Atlanta. Xavier Legette days until kickoff, Jack.
We're getting close, man. We're getting close, and looking forward to it, man. It's funny you mentioned XL. I should have sent you this. I forgot to last night, but I saw a really great video of Dowell Loggins, South Carolina's former offensive coordinator from XL's time here at Carolina, telling a really great Legette story. And did you know that Xavier gave D'Lo his first career NFL touchdown ball, as well as a Panthers jersey that he wore in game? That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I saw the same clip. It was about, this whole story is like 4.5 minutes. I was like, maybe that's a little bit too long for radio, and maybe we'll try and work that in tomorrow when we have a little bit more time with that kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, it was on the John Grisham show, I believe, which is out of North Carolina, and obviously they were talking to Dowell about App State and all those kind of things, but he told that Legette story, and it goes back to something we kind of heard, that he was the one that really believed in Legette's abilities based on what he looked like physically and what he saw out of him in practice. And the basic premise of the story is that Legette basically thanked him for believing in him, essentially. And of course, Legette had lost his parents when he was in high school, and the real tear-jerking moment is him basically saying, hey, I don't have anybody else to give the ball to, so I wanted to give it to you. But every player wants a coach that believes in him, and for Xavier Legette, that ended up being Dowell Loggins that helped him obviously have that great last year here at South Carolina and propel his way to being a first-round draft pick, and now he's entering another season in the NFL.
Yeah, and hopefully Xavier can stay out of trouble in the NFL. I know he got into that fight in the preseason, which I feel like is kind of justified.
Yeah,
because the defender for the Browns was just all over him.
Sure.
After the play. So look, but XL was so fun to watch and cover here, and looking forward to seeing what he does in his sophomore year in the NFL.
It's always those pesky DBs, man. They don't know when to stop. I came across the clip the other day of, this was years ago, back before Washington was the Commanders, when Nuke Hopkins and D'Angelo Hall had the spat at one of those combined practices, and DeAndre Hopkins put D'Angelo Hall on skates and basically broke his ankles and just flat out embarrassed him in front of everybody that day.
Oh my gosh. I mean, yeah, it's and again, these games are on TV, so it's like it doesn't look great. He had to XL had to put out a whole apology and whatnot, but and I've never really seen him like that, honestly. So it was kind of surprising, to be honest.
I did listen to Dave Canales' when asked about that afterwards, in his post-game press conference. And, of course, he's like, hey, we don't do that. We need to be better and all that kind of stuff. But I never got the sense that he was actually disappointed in X for doing that. It's like, yeah, my guy stood up for himself. So what?
Yeah, exactly. So I can't really blame him. But, Yeah, that was like in that video yesterday. I wasn't expecting to see that, but that was a really cool thing that I had no idea about, to be honest.
Well, and again, Leggett was somebody that had been around for years on the roster, and he had a few catches here and there, but nothing crazy. Of course, in 2022, he had the great kick return against A&M that sent everybody into a frenzy, and that kind of started the ball rolling in the back half of that year of him getting a little bit more of a look, and obviously had the great bowl game against Notre Dame, down there in the Gator Bowl, but really it was that last year, especially after Juice Wells went down, where it was just kind of him as the main option that he exploded, and obviously had the 1,000-yard year and was able to catapult himself into being a first-round pick. And if Satterfield stays for that last year for Leggett, or for the way that it sounded like he probably would have transferred. Like if Satterfield was still the OC, he probably would go somewhere else, and that's what Dow Logan said as he came to him in his office, like, hey man, I want the ball. Maybe I need to go somewhere else. And Dow was like, hold on, wait a minute, we can figure this out. Well, let me put a plan together for you, and if I can't figure something out by May, I'll help you transfer, basically. So Dow Loggins helped him out, and obviously the rest is history.
Yeah, and look, there's nobody else that I've heard of, at least, that does a better Xavier Leggett accent or impersonation than Dow Loggins himself. He does it perfectly.
It's pretty good. Spencer's wasn't too bad. Spencer's the one that, because again, Leggett never really talked a lot when he was here. I mean, we even had him on the Garnet Trust Hour before the Clemson game in his final year, and he talked the whole hour basically, but he didn't open up a whole lot, especially not compared to what he does now. So we didn't get a full glimpse of, one, the accent fully on display, and two, the personality that he is, until really he got to the league, and now he's one of the most beloved players, and they're sending him to the Kentucky Derby and all these kind of things. But yeah, Dow does a pretty darn good impersonation of Xavier Leggett.
Nah, he does, man. And it is, you're right about that. The fact that he does open up more now, just because I don't know what it is. Maybe it's something with being in the NFL, and you probably have to open up a little bit more. But you're right. He was never really like this in college. And granted, we didn't really speak to him too much besides his junior year, because you got to remember, like, his first 4 years here at South Carolina, before the Gator Bowl, before the kick return, I think he had the one touchdown. Didn't he have the touchdown catch against Vanderbilt when it was year one with like Zeb Nolan at quarterback?
Yeah, so that was his first touchdown, I believe, was against Vanderbilt. But again, very limited. And I hope Wes and Chris aren't listening right now. I will kind of spoil the trivia question for later on today. So he had 71 catches in his senior year, where he had over 1,000 yards. Do you know how many catches combined he had in the prior 4 seasons?
Oh, my God. I think I wrote a story about this one time, and I know it's not a lot. I'm going to say like 20.
42. Wow. So he was averaging right around 10 receptions per season before his final year here.
Yeah. Again, he did not get the ball very often. And I understand his sentiment of like, hey, like, I want the ball more, man. Like, I understand that whole thing, but it worked out for him, honestly. Like, who knows what would have happened if Marcus Satterfield were still the offensive coordinator here at South Carolina. I know things did not particularly go well with that, and I think D'Lo, while people have their criticisms of the job he did, I thought he did a pretty good job here developing Spencer Rattler in his 1 year and getting XL to the league and whatnot, and seeing the way the offense grew last year. I mean, did a very good job, and obviously now App State, first year there, looking to help out the Mountaineers.
We'll get to more of this on the other side. We can't forget about our Sandstorm pick-me-up to start the day, so let's hit that real quick.
Time to get hyped. Here's your 9 a.m. Sandstorm, sponsored by George Sink Injury Lawyers. Just call all nines.
It is time for your 9 a.m. Sandstorm Pick-Me-Up, brought to you by South Carolina's largest injury law firm, George Sink Injury Lawyers. If you've been hurt in the car or at work, call George Sink now at 803 all nines. You mentioned, obviously, Dow Loggins, who's now getting set for his first season as the head coach at App State. And look, did he completely set the world on fire as offensive coordinator here. Not necessarily. The offense was good last year, but nobody was saying, oh, man, he's up for the Broyles Award for top assistant or something like that. But it was certainly a marked improvement from what the Satterfield years were. And I think it's funny because, again, Satterfield was, I guess, poached off this staff by Matt Rule, when he took the job at Nebraska. And I do remember at the time, all the people on the Nebraska message boards like, yeah, Carolina, we stole your OC. We stole your OC. Bet you're so jealous. And all the Carolina fans were like, take him. Please take him. You can have him all you want. Just don't come crawling back to us when it doesn't work out. And, it hasn't worked out because Dow Loggins went from being the OC at South Carolina to being a head coach at a G5 school. Marcus Satterfield went from being the OC at Nebraska to being their tight ends coach and replaced by Dana Holgorsen.
My gosh, that is... And Dana Holgorsen was at West Virginia, right? I mean, as the head coach?
Yes. Was that right? His last stop?
I think it was, yeah.
Let me check on that.
And I also want to say he was at Houston, maybe? Maybe I'm thinking of...
So he did coach at both places. I'm trying to remember what his last stop prior to that was.
TCU. He was a defensive analyst.
Okay, all right. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, so he was at West Virginia forever. Oh my God, was he? He must have been there during the Tavon Austin years, right?
Yeah, that lines up because I'm trying to remember because Rich Rod left West Virginia. They had another coach before Holgorsen got there, and I cannot remember who it was now. But yeah, he was there for a long period of time. I guess Tavon Austin, guys like that.
2009 to 12. So he would have been there for the last 2 years of his career with West Virginia.
Yep. And and then after that, because Holgorsen had been an OC at Houston prior, he then went to Houston, become their head coach for a couple of years before, again, he was the DA at TCU, and now he was brought in as like an analyst type at Nebraska last year, but the offense was just going so badly, they then replaced Satterfield with him. That's how it went down.
I mean, look, when that hire was made, people were like, hey, just get ready for Nebraska's offense to fall apart. And look, even me, I'm still not convinced. I don't know what happened for sure in that Tennessee game in 2022 where South Carolina's offense just
the theory was that Freddie Kitchens was calling the plays, right?
Yeah, I don't know the full story, but like I'm not convinced at all that you could tell me Marcus Satterfield, the same guy who was calling plays for the freaking Florida game the week before, where I think their only touchdown in that game was a DeCarrion Joyner special teams touchdown.
It was,
like on a fake kick or a fake punt. Like, you can't tell me that man was calling the offense for the Tennessee game where everything was just going perfectly. If he was, and it must have been like, here's your 10 best plays and just run them.
When was the come to Jesus meeting between Beamer and Satterfield that year? Was it after the Florida game?
I don't know, because this was before I really joined the beat full time. So
I know at some point that year they're like, hey, you need to simplify this. It's way too complicated. You need to cut about 50 plays from that, giant laminated play sheet that you have.
So I think that's really what it probably would have been going into the Tennessee game then, where it's like, run your best plays and that's it. Like, don't run any of this other nonsense. And hey, it worked out. Scored 60-something points, and then go ahead and score 30 at Clemson. So,
well, again, it ended up working out well for Carolina since he left, and again, good luck to him as a tight ends coach this upcoming year. Well, the first segment didn't go quite the way that I thought it was. We'll get things back on track coming up next. It is the Extra Point. It's our head and Jack Feltry along with you on your Thursday on the game. Welcome back in. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head and Jack Belcher along with you here on your Thursday on the game. We'll get back into what Coach Beamer had to say the other day talking to the media in just a moment. But quickly, want to remind you once again, a week from tomorrow, that's right, August 22nd, it is the Games Summer Golf Classic, sponsored by Krager Showrooms, formerly the Nest, down in the Vista. Going to be at Charwood Golf Club in West Columbia. Once again, the tee time is at 9 a.m. Registration begins at 7:30. We want to see you there to not only take part in the golf, but enjoy some delicious onion sausages for breakfast, the Mimosa Bar from Saki's Wine and Spirits, as well as Firehouse Subs for lunch. There's going to be prizes to give away. The golf gun also makes its return. If you want to take part, give Charwood a call at 803-755-2000. It's only $400 per team. And when you call that number at 803-755-2000, press the number 2 to sign up. Again, the Game Summer Golf Classic sponsored by Krager Showrooms coming up a week from tomorrow out at Charwood Golf Club. So since we're talking about offensive coordinators, that our conversation there about Leggett went to Dow Loggins, which then went to dumping on Marcus Satterfield, which I said to you in the break, I feel like people could listen to us do that for hours on end and never get sick of it. I've never, well, I have. Georgia's relationship with Mike Bobo is, I'd say, kind of similar to the relationship with Satterfield, except Bobo's numbers are actually pretty good and Satterfield's weren't.
And winning national championship.
Well,
so it's like...
So Bobo was not the OC for the national championship teams. That was Todd Monken.
That's
but
right.
after the last natty is when Monken went to the Ravens, and then Bobo came back.
But still, Georgia is always very, very good.
Yeah.
So I think people might overlook it a little bit.
So some of the Bobo hate is forced in Athens. I'll admit that. But the hate for Marcus Satterfield was very, very real and quite frankly justified here back in 2021 and 2022. But you've moved on from him. Dow Loggins comes in here, has a solid couple of years. The OC again. Nobody was talking about him as the best OC in the world. The numbers last year were obviously better, and the results on the field showed it. But now he goes on to App State, and you make the transition to making Mike Shula your offensive coordinator. And with that, let's hear what Coach Beamer had to say about kind of the working relationship and getting on the same page with Shula and everything as they work their way through fall camp.
I think it's been great. I think the dynamic, first of all, Phil and that staff room is awesome right now with all those coaches. It's a really good group of people in that room, and that staff dynamic with Mike and a couple of the new guys we've brought in with Ben Burris and Davis Cutter. It's a really good dynamic in there right now. And then Mike's been awesome. The fact that he's been a head coach before is very helpful. He and I can have conversations because he's been a head coach and not necessarily telling me, sometimes maybe because if I deserve it, think about this or what do you think about this? But there's great communication, very transparent, and I know everything that we're doing and why, and anything that I have an issue with, he's great about communicating. But it's been fantastic as well. He's big time, just as a human being, but then just as a coach also, and that with the offense, and then that whole staff dynamic, like I said.
As he mentioned, Shula being the former head coach at Alabama and somebody that's been around the sport for a long time, obviously comes from a lineage with coaching with his dad, much like Coach Beamer has as well. I feel like with that, there's a lot of trust too, right? So when you're handing over the reins of your offense to Mike Shula, who again has been an offensive coordinator for a lot of years, even at the highest level in the NFL, but also the fact that he has the experience of being a head coach at a Power 4 institution and one of the greatest ever at Alabama. I feel like there's just a natural trust, right? Like, yeah, could things look a little bit different than they did last year with Dow Loggins? Sure. Is Mike Shula going to approach things a little bit differently than Dow Loggins might? Sure. But I think there's a trust knowing this guy's been there and done that, where as Coach Beamer, you're probably not having to micromanage it as much. Like, hey, yeah, and like you said, I may have a problem with something, and I'll address it with him, and he's good with it, and we work it out and all those kind of things. I feel like you don't have to be quite as hands-on if you're Coach Beamer when it comes to patrolling what this offense is, because you can trust a guy like Mike Shula.
Yeah, no, I mean, Mike's a guy that is a veteran in the coaching industry and has been everywhere. He's been a head coach, been an NFL OC, and now he's here at Carolina, his first full year as the offensive coordinator. And again, last year being at South Carolina as an analyst, but having that on-field role of being with Sellers and being with the offense, being around those guys, he kind of was the backup as the OC to Dow Loggins. Like, he was right there in the middle of the action and had a different vantage point than D'Lo did in terms of him being in the box compared to Shula being on the field, which I asked Shula about this at Media Day a few weeks ago, and he is not sure. He didn't reveal yet whether or not he's going to be calling plays in the field or in the box, but they both have their advantages. But yeah, going to this year, the main question is, can Mike Shula help develop Lenore Sellers even further? Like, we're talking about the guy that, could potentially be a Heisman Trophy, winner or candidate in New York later this year. Like, that's the bar I think that people want to see Mike Shula take Lenore Sellers to.
Well, and we heard the other day, from the scrimmage that, Sellers was apparently doing good, stepping up in the pocket and obviously keeping his eyes downfield and those kind of things, which are the small details that Shula did talk about wanting to work on with him and just making him an all-around better quarterback, obviously, for the success of South Carolina this upcoming year, but that would obviously translate well to him going to the NFL if he has a good enough year this year. It could possibly be a first-round pick. And again, if anybody knows what it takes to be an NFL quarterback, it's going to be Mike Shula, because he coached one of the best we've seen in the past 10 years in Cam Newton, for that MVP season a couple years ago. And lo and behold, Cam Newton and Lenore Sellers are a lot alike in the way that they play the position. So, again, it seems like a natural fit. Again, there's that trust and relationship that Sellers has with Shula from them working quite literally next to each other last year on the sidelines between drives, because Loggins was up in the press box. Now, again, are you looking at a guy like if Shula's in the press box, that is, and not down on the field? Or are you looking at like a Davis Cutter, as we've heard a lot, brought up in terms of being that Shula from last year, in terms of the guy to sit on the bench with Sellers after each drive and go over everything? Or, does Shula want to be on the sidelines, continue doing that himself? That is something that's still a question, and we don't have any insight into what he did for the scrimmage, whether he was in the box or on the field as of yet, do we?
No, I don't. Did not see that anywhere. I do wonder about that. And doesn't Clayton White? I think he coaches on the field. Doesn't he?
He's on the field. So Dow Loggins was the only coordinator in the box last year.
So I don't know. I mean, if it were me, from his standpoint of what I think he should do, I think being on the field is not a bad option, honestly, because that's probably where he's more comfortable since he did it last year. And obviously Lenore's probably likes having him there and whatnot to just go over things in person rather than, put on the headset and talk to Mike from the box. But you have the guys up there. You have Davis Cutters. You have guys like that I think could be very good in the box. And that's the other thing he mentioned, is that they'll have someone that they trust in the box if Shula's on the field.
Well, and that's the thing, is like Clayton White was down on the field last year, which, for him, for whatever reason, he feels like he wants to be down there and have those one-on-one conversations with his guys. But he's got plenty of eyes up in the booth that are going to be able to see the all-22 and give him, hey, look out for this, look out for that. Here's what the other team's doing, those kind of things. And Shula would obviously have the same thing offensively on the other side. It's just Dow Loggins prefer to be in the box. And, hey, if I was an OC, I'd probably want to be up there too, because I would much prefer to be able to see with my own eyes that all-22 version of the field and be able to see how guys are lining up and the depth and all that kind of stuff that you just can't. If you've ever been at field level during a game, whether watching it or staying on the sidelines, you cannot tell the depth perception of quite literally anything. Everything looks like it's all mashed together when you're down there close.
That's the thing. So, again, I don't know exactly what Shula likes in terms of his vantage point and stuff. And, I do wonder what he'll ultimately do, because it could make a big difference. You never know. Being an analyst last year was probably just a lot more focused on, okay, let's help Lenoris, let's help the quarterbacks, that sort of thing. Because, again, he has been a quarterback in the SEC before as well. So you could look at it that way, but also now he's helming an entire offense. So maybe it would be better to be up in the box and see if you can get those type of results that you're looking for.
We'll get an answer on that maybe game week, I guess. Or if nothing else, we'll tune into that game and see whether he's standing on the sidelines or sitting in the box, and obviously go from there. But that's one of the few questions, I guess, that we have about Mike Shula, because, again, he's been a veteran. He's been around, coached at every single level. Like you trust, he's going to probably do a pretty good job with this offense this year and hopefully get Sellers to that point that they've been talking about wanting to get him to this entire offseason.
Yeah, and again, he will speak to us next week as well as Clayton White for coordinator. So maybe we'll get an answer then, but until then, maybe game week.
Well, his job is to get Sellers to that next level. And we're talking about quarterbacks. Are you sick of hearing about Arch Manning yet?
He's a nice kid, so I mean, we haven't talked about him too much recently.
Well, Ari Wasserman of On 3 yesterday brought up a really interesting point that Arch Manning represents exactly what old school fans have been clamoring for these past couple of years. We'll let you hear that coming up next as the Extra Point rolls along. Tyler Head and Jack Beltry with you on your Thursday here on The Game. Tyler Ed here for our friends over at Canty Foundation Specialist. I tell you about it all the time, but I'll happily remind you once again, you always need to be on the lookout for weird things happening around your home. Things like cracks in your exterior brick, cracks in walls or above windows and door frames, doors and windows that might be sticking, uneven or bouncy floors, or cracks over your garage door. If you have any of these problems with your home, you could have serious foundation issues. That's where our friends at Canty Foundation Specialist come in. Go online to schedule an appointment today at cantycanfixit.com. They will send a pro out to your home to evaluate those issues and get them fixed so you and your family can live comfortably without worry going forward. You see their trucks driving around all the time across Columbia. Go online to schedule an appointment today at cantycanfixit.com. They will send one of those out to you to get your problem taken care of. Canty Foundation Specialist at cantycanfixit.com. Welcome back in. It is the Extra Point. It's Red and Jack Belcher with you on your Thursday here on the game. Today, Irmo's Little League team has its first game of the Little League World Series coming up at 3 o'clock, and you can join Elijah Campbell over at Carolina Wings at 1000 Marina Road in Irmo. He's going to be hanging out from 3 until 5 for the Little League World Series watch parties. You can come and cheer on those kids from Irmo as they get things started out there in Williamsport. And obviously, we hope they're playing baseball for the next about week and a half and claiming a championship when it's all said and done. And that would that'd be a cool little way to get things closed out for the summer as we head into football season.
Yeah, man, I'm really looking forward to seeing what these kids do, and I'll definitely have it turned on today when we. What time is that game today?
It'll
like
start
3?
at 3. So right as we get done, I'll have it on as soon as I get home. And obviously, they had the big comeback to punch their ticket to Williamsport. So hopefully, it's less dramatic than that.
Yeah, man, that was. I still can't get over how crazy that game was. That was so sick to watch. So let's see if Irmo can do it, man. Let's see. I want to see these guys playing for the next week and a half out in Williamsport.
So we'll cheer them on, and then you can go hang out with Elijah Campbell today from 3 until 5 at Carolina Wings at 1000 Marina Road out in Irmo. There has perhaps been no quarterback we've talked about as much. I say I'm talking about the general consensus of college football media and fans. Like Arch Manning's been talked about this entire offseason. He's polarizing, and a lot of that stems from his name, but he was also a 5-star recruit. We can't forget that. And he's being positioned as maybe a Heisman Trophy winner, maybe a first-round draft pick, all those kind of things before he's made a real significant start at Texas. He started against Mississippi State and UL Monroe last year. Yeah, take that with a grain of salt. But he did play well in those games, and we'll get his opportunity to really prove to the world what he's capable of in week number 1 against Ohio State up there in the Horseshoe in Columbus. I was listening yesterday to Andy and Ari of On 3, and Ari Wasserman brought up a really interesting point that I never thought of, where he basically says, Arch Manning is what every old school fan has been clamoring for in college football these past handful of years.
Almost, if not a full circle, but a circle.
Yeah.
And Arch Manning actually represents what people loved about college football. The hyped recruit who didn't draw attention to himself, put the team and the situation before him, went to a place knowing he wasn't going to play for 2 years, sat behind somebody else despite the fact that there was some argument or at least a case to be made that will be certainly talked about on this podcast in November about whether he should have played last year, kept his mouth shut, has never said anything remotely controversial, has stayed committed to learning the playbook, developing his body, being a, immaculate teammate, and sticking through what wouldn't be an easy situation, waiting his turn, and staying loyal to the program. Isn't that what everybody wants? Don't you want this person who has done it the old-fashioned way, or the old school way, or the way that you used to remember it in 2015 and before? Like, why would you root against that person? Like that's the person that's supposed to show everybody that doing it the old-fashioned way is still a good way.
And he brings up a really good point, and you kind of alluded to this a moment ago. Arch Manning's not done anything to make people hate him, right? Like, he's not somebody that when he gets in front of a microphone is going to say something controversial. He's not going out there flashing the money sign, when he's on the field like Manziel did back in the day. He doesn't have a cockiness or an arrogance about him. I mean, gosh, when he was at media days, he just looked like your typical average, somewhat shy college kid. You know what I mean? Like, he's not this bombastic, larger-than-life type of personality. He just has a famous last name, which is why he gets talked about so much. But as already pointed out there, he's done it the right way. He committed to Texas. He stayed committed to Texas. He hasn't caused a stir because, Quinn Ewers is starting above me. I think I'm a better player than him. He stayed the course. And even through this offseason where he's getting all this hype, he's been relatively quiet outside of when he's just having to go to things like media days and talk to people then. Like, he's not drawing any more attention to himself. And, again, he may very well come back next year as well, like we talked about last week.
The quote that sticks out to me about what I really need to know about Arch, it literally is just 2 sentences. He said this in I think a Texas gaggle or something before taking the stage, but he said, quote, "I'm not really sure how they got these opinions because I've only played in 2 games. I guess it's nice of them to say, but it doesn't mean anything. Talk is cheap. I've got to go prove it."
Yeah.
that's a guy that sounds completely humble and someone that you want to root for, right?
Sure.
Because he's not this cocky, arrogant. In today's day and age in college football, we see so many people with the biggest egos imaginable, and they want all this money and stuff. And sure, I'm sure Arch is getting millions of dollars, but you don't see him flaunting about it, talking about it, and being him about me. Like, he seems like your average dude that wants to also be just like everybody else, right? He doesn't want to be treated like someone completely different because of his last name, which is totally understandable.
Sure.
He probably also wants to, make a name for himself and not be, Cooper's kid or Eli and Peyton's nephew. Like, he wants to be his own man too, I'm sure. So, he hasn't really done anything wrong. Again, he's just a normal guy that plays quarterback at Texas.
Yeah, and I'll say, I'm not a Texas fan, obviously, but I feel like I'm rooting for the kid. Now, if Carolina matched up with them, I obviously want Texas to lose. And if it comes down to a Heisman Trophy race between him and Lenore Sellers, I want Lenore Sellers to win the Heisman Trophy. But, I think he's going to be a good player. I voted him as my third-team preseason all-SEC quarterback because I think he's going to be really good. And, in week number 1, when they play Ohio State, that's just a big matchup anyway. But I'm legitimately tuning in to see how he plays. I'm not tuning in to say, oh, man, I hope Ohio State, knocks this guy around 4 quarters, sacks him 10 times, and he throws, 11 picks. No, I think he's going to be good, and I want to see how good he's going to be.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that game at the Horseshoe is going to be nuts. Like, game day is going to be there, obviously, but it's like 1 versus 2 potentially. Like, we're talking about a game where, the lights are going to be on Arch, in the metaphorical sense. Like, he's going to have a chance to really go out there and prove a lot of people wrong. Number one, like, there's probably a lot of people out there that don't think he could be very good for Texas at the college level. But, man, if he has a good game in week 1, I mean, that really gets the ball rolling for what his season really could be like.
And I feel like he's one of those guys that has the opportunity, if he does end up being good this year, to kind of be one of your favorite players to watch, right? Again, we all have our favorite teams. Obviously, Carolina, if you're listening to us right now, more likely than not, where, if a guy plays for your team, especially at quarterback, he's going to be one of your favorites. But if you've watched college football long enough, you have guys you kind of gravitate towards that don't play for your team that you end up just becoming really, really big fans of. And I was particularly a big fan of one specific Texas quarterback back in the day. I'll dive into that, and we'll talk about players that were outside of our favorite teams that we rooted for over the years coming up next as we wrap up hour number 1 of the Extra Point. Tyler Head and Jack Feltry along with you on your Thursday on the Game. Welcome back in. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head and Jack Feltry wrapping up hour number 1 here on your Thursday on the game. Reminder, coming up on Monday, we'll be expanding into Charleston. You can listen to us on WIWF 96.9 HD3. So then you'll be able to hear us here in Columbia, in Florence, Myrtle Beach, and Charleston as well. So we're going to be pretty much statewide at that point, which is obviously very, very exciting. You can, as always, tune into us on the 107.5 The Game app. By the way, I heard a guy this morning on the elevator literally tell me, like, I listen to you guys on my app all the time. Like, thank you, sir. That's exactly what we want to hear. So the app is working, and obviously you can watch us on the Game TV as well. So looking forward to expanding into Charleston coming up at the beginning of next week. So I mentioned a moment ago that Arch Manning is somebody that I feel like has the potential to become a lot of people's favorite player that doesn't play for their team. Like, you're a Texas fan, yeah, naturally that guy could become your automatic favorite. Over the years, I always tend to have, and if not every single year, every couple of years, one guy that doesn't play for Carolina or Georgia or whatever that I kind of fixate on as like, wow, I really love watching this guy play. And growing up, Colt McCoy for a long time may have been my favorite college football player ever. I was a big, not necessarily Texas fan, just a big Colt McCoy fan.
Are you one of those people that still thinks to this day that if he doesn't get hurt in the 2009 national championship, that Texas beats Alabama?
That Alabama team was a monster, especially defensively. Look, he was obviously the better quarterback in that matchup compared to McElroy, right? But I do wonder, because, again, poor Garrett Gilbert, I think he was a freshman. He had to come in the first quarter and try and manage things. And I want to say, did Colt come in again late in that game? But his shoulder was shot at that point and wasn't really worth anything. But I don't know if Texas would have beaten them. It would definitely would have been more competitive.
Totally. You're right about Texas having the better quarterback in that game. McElroy was good, but he was right for Alabama's system, right?
Yeah. And McElroy was a lot better in his second year in 2010. Like, in 2009, Ingram won the Heisman, and they just handed it off to him a bunch. That was all he had to do.
Exactly. So, yeah, for me, I stick with Alabama. I always really enjoy seeing what AJ McCarron was always a lot of fun to watch in college. I mean, he had so many good weapons to throw to. Yeah, obviously Amari Cooper was one of his favorite targets. I don't think he got to ever really throw. I know he was on the same team with Julio in 2009-10, but McElroy was the starter those years. So, but Cooper was his main weapon, man. He was so much fun to watch. So, yeah. But who are some of your other favorite guys?
So in terms of non-quarterbacks, since you're talking about Alabama, Devontae Smith at Alabama. And look, Devontae Smith caught the winning touchdown pass in the national championship where Alabama defeated Georgia. Like, that is burned inside my memory. But that Heisman Trophy year, he was so unbelievable that season. Because, again, it's been a couple years, and now you've obviously had Travis Hunter win the Heisman Trophy. So non-quarterbacks winning the award is not outside the realm of possibility anymore. But it had been a very, very long time prior to 2020 since a non-quarterback or running back had won the Heisman Trophy. But Devontae Smith was so unbelievably good. Every time he got the ball in his hands, you're like, oh, he's probably going to go for a touchdown. Like, if I could go back and watch one player's highlights from a single season, it would probably be his from 2020 because he was that freaking good.
He had such an insane year in 2020. I'm going to pull up his numbers just to read them off. I mean, it was absolutely wild what he did. I mean, it was insane. All right. So in 2020, which, gosh, he had a really good year in 2019 as well.
Yep.
117 catches, 1,856 receiving yards. He averaged 15.9 yards per catch, 23 touchdowns. That is crazy. I mean, his numbers from 2019, 1,200 yards, 14 touchdowns, 68 catches. Still a very good year, but he's talking about winning the Heisman Trophy in 2020. I mean, that basically did it right there.
Yeah, no, it absolutely did. And again, not an Alabama fan by any means, but sometimes you see a player that's so good, you just recognize their greatness, and you're like, oh, every time they're on TV, I'm going to watch because this guy is unbelievable, and he was.
One guy I really enjoyed watching when I was younger, and I say younger, I was probably 12 or 11 when he was in college football. But Johnny Manziel, man, he was the human highlight reel.
Johnny was fun.
So fun to watch, man. He was unreal, and just some of the things he would do. It's just like, how is that possible? I always think of the Alabama game where he just breaks out of the sack and throws that little lob ball into, I forget who he passed it to, but it wasn't Mike Evans, but he throws it right to the end zone, and just, that's Johnny football, man.
Yeah. Let's see. Mark weighs in on our live stream. He says, Eli Robertson and Darren Sproles at Kansas State years ago are some of my favorite, most memorable players I cheered for that weren't from USC. And Darren Sproles was a monster. And obviously that leveraged him into getting to the NFL and playing for as long as he did. But God, he was what, like 5'6" or something like that?
Yeah, he was not anything really that big. He was insane. You know, one guy, we mentioned him earlier, and I know I was old enough to probably watch him, but again, I really didn't watch college football as much as I do now. Tavon Austin would have been really, really cool to watch, like, a little bit more closely. And obviously there's the famous highlight reel of him and stuff, his highlights. But he's such a good football player back in college, man. He was crazy. It's like one of those guys that he was in the NFL for a while, but like, you really wish like he would have done something even crazier at the NFL level.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I don't know, wide receiver highlights are always, I feel like, the most fun because you'll get crazy catches and hurdles and those kind of things. And running backs too, I guess. Any running backs that stick out to you that are favorites over the years?
Derrick Henry was always good to watch.
He was flipping people.
He was a monster. That's definitely one that comes to mind. That's probably the number one. Anyone for you?
Gosh, as running backs go, man,
I'm trying to think.
I can't think of anybody that stands out above the rest. I will say, if I can throw a defensive player in here real quick, I really enjoyed Minkah Fitzpatrick when he was at Alabama.
Yeah,
Minkah was fun to watch.
That's a good one right there. Yeah, some really good Alabama teams that had really good defenses, and Minkah was a part of some really good ones there.
Yeah, any defensive players for you?
Not really. I always think of Swearinger's hit on that Clemson receiver. I always think of that, but nothing off the top of my head. That's typically the one play I think of, though.
It's our favorite activity, guys naming dudes, right?
Yeah.
We'll be sure to do more of this from 12 to 3. See you in about 2 hours.
All right, man. I'll see you then.
All right, that'll do it for the Extra Point. Coming up next, Garnet Trust Hour, presented by Krantz Cooling and Heating. Myself and Wes Mitchell here on your Thursday on the game. Tower ahead here for our friends over at Twin Peaks. School is back in session, and if you're feeling misbehaved, you can stay back after class and enjoy some epic drink specials all week this week at the Back to School Costume Party. It's live in the lodge right down the street from us here in the Vista, but it ends tomorrow, so you need to get yourself down there today or tomorrow to take part in all the fun and festivities of the Back to School Costume Party, and you can celebrate the end of summer break with all the naughty schoolgirls down at Twin Peaks. NFL preseason still going on, by the way, too. That'll get ramped up once again coming up tonight and running through the weekend. You can go down there and take in all the great preseason actions. We get set for real football to start here coming up in a couple weeks. TV as far as the eye can see, tons of delicious food, and of course those 29-degree draft beers. All this and more with our friends at Twin Peaks right down the street in the Vista. 10 o'clock on your Thursday morning. Welcome in. It is the Garnet Trust Hour presented by Krantz Cooling and Heating. Tyler Head and Wes Mitchell along with you here. Another day closer to football starting. We'll get into our 17 days trivia question coming up in the next hour. I don't think it's too hard to figure out who's today's trivia question is going to be about, by the way.
I've still not done my research and my homework, but
well, we're not digging that far back. I'll just tell you that much.
Okay. All right.
So,
Sounds good.
Can you think of a 17 right now?
I can think of one pretty popular 17 around here. He's actually been on this very show.
He has been.
Live from Firehouse.
Yep. Still wearing 17 right now in the pros.
Yeah,
So you're on the right track. So you have an hour.
Does he catch footballs?
He does catch footballs.
Okay. Did you see the Dow Loggins
I did.
clip floating around?
I did.
Very cool.
Little bit too long for radio, but we'll dive into that when we get into our trivia question coming up the next hour, because very cool story, and just kind of it reinforces a lot of things that we had heard about Leggett from his time here, and obviously the relationship that he and Dow Loggins had there. But that's all. We'll get into all that with Chris in the 11 o'clock hour. I wanted to talk this hour though about what's going on in Tennessee, because apparel deals are all the rage in college football, especially now. And Tennessee did something that we don't typically see. They left Nike. So they've been with Nike for about a decade now. And starting in 2026, they will go back to Adidas, as they have signed a 10-year, $100 million deal with Adidas that has a lot of extra layers to it, including NIL components. And we're obviously less than a year away from Carolina's current deal with Under Armour coming to an end. And it's been a hot-button topic for years, as, let's be honest, this fan base does not love Under Armour. They want to see Carolina go elsewhere. I don't know if that's going to happen or not, and especially if you can get a deal like Tennessee has with Adidas, that'd be the most advantageous for the university, obviously.
Yeah, and as we have talked about, probably too much. Like, everybody is looking for new revenue streams right now. Have you always been looking for new revenue streams? I would say yes, but the pressure to do so has ramped up over the last couple of years with all the changes in college football. And, I think there's probably a give and take, or at least there used to be in your apparel deal. From what I had always heard, this is, I'm sure, very generally speaking, but, like, you could look at the apparel deal from just a financial standpoint. Like, I believe part of the reason South Carolina is with Under Armour is because it is a more lucrative deal for South Carolina. Yeah. And, a lot of the way these things are structured, like, it's kind of funny. Like, you're getting all this equipment and jerseys and all this stuff from them, but really they are paying you.
Sure.
It's basically like a big sponsorship.
Yeah, it's advertising.
Yes, it is advertising. So you're not going out and saying, hey, we have to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars for all these jerseys. They're saying, we want to outfit you.
Yeah.
And so then it becomes, well, what does that look like for Under Armour? What does that look like from Nike? What does that look like from Adidas in this case?
Mm-hmm.
And, you can see along with that, South Carolina being Under Armour, there's Under Armour logos plastered everywhere.
Yep.
Which never actually seemed to bother anyone, quite like some people are bothered about field sponsorship, but that's here nor there. And so it's like, all right, do you go with the most popular logo? Do you go with the business decision of dollars and cents, like they're giving us a better deal? Or do you factor in, hey, this is what our fans want?
Yeah.
Hey, this being involved with this company and logo, in our opinion, is more lucrative just being with them.
Sure.
Even if the actual financials, the dollars and cents, aren't as big. And so I think you have a lot of factors that go into this. From what I have always understood with Under Armour, it was kind of truly like, all right, their deal, their offers have just been better.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what South Carolina's going with Tyler real quick. I know you weren't around back then, but when South Carolina first went to Under Armour, this thing was heavily celebrated.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was not, we're going Under Armour. It was like, let's party. We are going to Under Armour.
Sure.
Now, South Carolina was Russell Athletic before.
Yes.
Preston probably.
Preston was a Russell athlete, yeah.
Russell athlete.
Not the coolest brand by any means. And Under Armour that was when they were really coming on to the scene and, really kind of making their footprint in college football. And it was a cool thing to be one of their new clients back then.
They were an up-and-coming brand. And, I feel like they were one of the first ones to, like, really push the compression, shirts. And, I remember having, like, an Under Armour base layer to play like baseball in high school. Like that's just, surely they didn't invent that technology, but they were like the first one to have kind of that material and really market it.
I went to high school in the late 2000s, early 2010s. Under Armour was about as cool of a brand as you could get. I paid a lot of money for very expensive socks that had performance enhancement to it. I don't know if it really did anything, but it looked cool. Like, they were a hot brand that maybe's cooled off a little bit in these past couple years, but at the end of the day, it is about the value that they can quite literally pay you in terms of these brand deal or apparel deals. And I came across this clip yesterday. Sports Animal in Knoxville, Jason Swain on one of their shows was talking about this deal, and he was talking about how he felt Nike undervalued Tennessee.
I need to drive the point home so you can understand. They don't value you enough as a university, as a program, to pay you what you're worth. How does that make you feel to know that you are not paid what you are worth? Your worth to them is not important as you think it is. How does that make you feel? That's how Tennessee feels. Tennessee is one of the hottest programs in the country, and Nike doesn't see it, and that they don't value Tennessee. So what do you want Tennessee to do? Oh, that's okay. That's okay, Nike. You don't care about us. You don't respect us. You don't value us. We'll take you. We'll take your scraps. While you give all your money to Ohio State and Texas and Alabama and Florida, we'll be happy with your scraps. Just give us your scraps. We okay with that. No, we Tennessee, damn it. We Tennessee, man. You gonna treat us as such.
So he brings up a really interesting point, and there's roughly about 70 schools that are Power 4 institutions as of right now in college football, and right about 50 of them are either Nike or Jordan brand schools. Jordan is obviously a division of Nike, so they've got the market share, right? They've got the vast majority of teams as Nike schools, and he brings up the point about Texas and Ohio State and stuff like that. Their deals are astronomical, and these are deals that were signed about a decade ago, so they're due to go up when they renew their contracts. Texas and Nike's deal in 2015 was 15 years, $250 million. Ohio State's deal around the same time was 15 years, $252 million. Again, you're not getting that kind of money if you're South Carolina going to Nike. You, like Tennessee, again, two programs that are kind of in the same realm in that, second tier of the SEC as of right now, are going to get whatever Nike has available for you because you're not going to be seen as big of a brand as these other schools they're dumping all this money into. So the question becomes okay, you can go with the cooler brand that the fan base wants, but you're probably not going to have as good of a deal compared to maybe going with an Adidas or maybe re-upping with Under Armour. That's possible too. That can maybe give you more that will actually benefit you from a money standpoint.
Yeah, and where is Under Armour in their approach to this now compared to, 10 years ago? I think that is an important factor to weigh in. We have seen schools break up with the brands, and we have seen some of the brands kind of just start to say, hey, we're pulling back a little bit here. And so we've seen Under Armour pull back. And, I was looking at some of the stuff that Wes Rucker, who has covered, I think he's kind of in between gigs right now, but he's covered Tennessee forever on multiple, entities. And Wes was basically saying that, hey, Adidas came in and they just said, now I know some of this is a little bit of sales tactics, I'm sure, but they certainly made Tennessee feel like, hey, you're number one. Like, we are going to treat you like a huge priority. He tweeted yesterday, the Adidas offer to Tennessee was so unique and strong that Nike didn't even table a former counter offer to Tennessee, which it was contractually allowed to do. A lot of times these contracts have built in whoever your current provider is has a chance to basically match. And if the deals are equal,
sure,
it defaults back to them a lot of times in these contracts. And so this is a little bit for Tennessee, like getting back with your high school girlfriend who you broke up with and went out into the dating world. Because, I mean, I remember that Adidas logo being on Tennessee, like that. They were kind of synonymous, I feel like.
They created the original Smoky Grays back in 2013, I want to say it was, and Nike has since carried those on. But Adidas, because again, Adidas was making all kinds of crazy uniforms for the schools they had. That was kind of the trend back in the early 2010s. But yeah, they're the original one or innovators of the Smoky Grays. And I think those blackouts that they wore against Carolina, was that 2009 when Kiffin was there on Halloween? That was an Adidas deal too.
Yeah, it sounds right. 08, 09. Yeah, I think it kind of feels like there was. It seems like there was some alignment between Tennessee and Adidas, where reading some other stuff, they were maybe flirting with each other the last few years, and this just made a lot of sense for them, I think. And I wonder. So we can maybe get into this on the other side, but it does it put you in a unique situation if you're South Carolina, I think Ohio State is coming open soon. I think Texas is coming open soon.
Yeah, those deals were signed right about 10 years ago.
Does it put you in a unique situation because Tennessee is building in NIL commitments from Adidas? If I signed my deal, a 10-year deal, 3 years ago, I'm kind of locked in.
Sure.
If I'm at the point where I'm about to negotiate, then things have changed so much just in that little window. If you're South Carolina, regardless of which brand you end up going with, when this contract does end, it could be a pretty good time for the current contract to be coming open.
We'll dive into that coming up next as the Garnet Trust Tower rolls along. Tyler Head and Wes Mitchell on your Thursday on the Game.
All right, guys, you know it. Football season right around the corner. Hit up our friends at Integrated Media just to make sure you're prepared. Prepared for those game day parties. Prepared for watching either in your living room or your man cave. And for one, almost everything is streaming now. If you've got one of the streamer brands instead of cable these days, you want to make sure that your internet connection is perfect, that there's no buffering when your team's about to score a big touchdown. And you also want to make sure your TV looks awesome. The surround sound sounds awesome. And they can help you, whether that is A, getting a new TV, or B, just taking your current setup and taking it to the next level. They can hang TVs, they can hide the wires, they can hang the speakers, make sure the surround sound is outstanding. And then they can help you run it all off of a tablet as well, including everything around your home in terms of smart home services and securities and camera. Hit up Integrated Media now, integratedmediainc.com, 803-948-8327.
Welcome back in. It is the Garnet Trust Hour presented by Krantz Cooling and Heating. Tyler Head and Chris Clark. No, you're not Chris Clark. You're Wes Mitchell. Dang it. That is Wes Mitchell. I'm going to make a mistake at least once a day. It's okay.
Wow, Tyler. Wow.
Listen, man, I host 4 shows a day. I work with up to 4 to 5 people a day. I'm going to get something wrong at some point. Forgive me.
You're forgiven.
It's okay. Anyways, it is the Garnet Trust Hour. He is Wes Mitchell. I'm Tyler Head. Quick reminder, starting Monday, we'll be in Charleston as well. Listen to us on WIWF 96.9 HD3, so you can hear us pretty much across the whole state in Columbia, Florence, Myrtle Beach, and now Charleston as well. Of course, also listen to us on the 107.5 Game app and streaming, as always, on the Game TV. So we're continuing this conversation about Tennessee's new apparel deal with Adidas, which was announced yesterday, which will go into effect next season for 10 years and $100 million. But there's an extra layer to this that is very modern college football, modern college sports as a whole. And this is per Ross Dellinger's article on Yahoo Sports. It says players will get a piece of the $100 million plus pie in a significant way, too. And for some of them, immediately. There's going to be, as described, unprecedented NIL opportunities for Tennessee athletes across all 20 sports. So a significant amount of this, which equates to $10 million a year deal for the school, will be specific NIL money for the athletes.
Yeah, and I think that is sign number 1,000 of the times that we are in right now in college athletics. And, you know, I think it does make sense. So if you are any school right now, man, you know what you have in your rev share, and you know what that number is. And any serious competitor at this point at a Power 4 school is going to fully fund the rev share. Mm-hmm. It's not even going to be a question. Maybe there's some smaller, schools that just can't do it. But if you're a Power 4 institution, you're funding the $20.5 million. That number continues to go up each year. But everybody will be looking for ways to find brand deals that do not count for the 20.5. And in order to do that, you really have to find a way to bring in like big national brands. Like you can do local deals, and those are certainly helpful. I'm not saying they aren't, but to really kind of chip away and try to build a roster on par with, some of the other ones that are going to be out there, you got to find a way to find these other brand deals. What better way to do it than, if you're talking about Adidas, Nike, Under Armour, right now, if that negotiating window is there for you, you have to ask for NIL commitments. Sure. And so what better way to get a big brand to sign on is when there's some actual leverage involved. Yeah. And so I think this is, let's put it in a South Carolina context. This would be, if they were to change providers or even keep Under Armour, you're saying once you start negotiating this thing, hey, as part of this, we're going to need you to invest in our athletes. And we're going to need you. It may not be a situation where you can say right off the top, like, hey, you're going to give X point whatever dollars to this specific player. Sure. But you're gonna commit a certain percentage of that money to our athletes each year. And then it's going to be up to everybody involved to find a way to make it where it can pass the NIL Go scrutiny. But if you're saying, hey, we're gonna give $1 million of that per year to your most high-profile player, that is something where you're going to say, all right, let's find a way to make this work.
And again, that would seemingly pass the NIL Go because you're doing promotional content with this athlete in commercials and campaigns, those kind of things. So it's as legit of a deal as you can get. It's not just, hey, come to the school, we'll pay you a bunch of money to play and wear our stuff. Like, no, it's something that they would leverage on their own end to use to promote their brand locally, nationally, depending on the caliber of player and all those kind of things. And I think about this from the standpoint of, what 16, 17-year-old teenage boys care about. They care about apparel and appearance and all those kind of things. And, Jordan and Under Armour and Nike and Adidas and all these kind of apparel brands that they're wearing in school every single day anyway. Like, you tell me, hey, I can go to South Carolina and Under Armour is going to give me X amount of $100,000 or whatever it may be to be one of their athletes. Heck yeah, I'll go there. Like, those things can really sway people's decision to come to your school at the end of the day.
Well, and here's the thing. And I think we kind of have this argument on a smaller scale, but it carries a lot more weight. Who at NIL Go is going to tell Adidas, hey, that deal, we don't think that deal passes our scrutiny? Okay, well, they are an international company. Mm-hmm. If they believe it is worth it, they should carry enough weight to say, guys, we did not make these stacks and stacks of cash by making bad deals. If they see, like, there should be a certain amount of weight behind. If a company that big, if a brand that big says, hey, we think this is worth it, then who's to say it is not? Like, if they want to give Lenora Sellers $1 million to be the face of their college brand and build in a bunch of appearances and stuff like that, who's to say he's not worth $1 million from Under Armour, Adidas, or Nike, or whoever?
Sure. Yeah, and again, they do deals with athletes, and Steph Curry is obviously an Under Armour athlete, so you wouldn't get that same kind of deal, but you could say, okay, here's what we pay Steph Curry as, one of the biggest names in all of the NBA and all of the world when it comes to athletes, and compare that to what you have with Lenora Sellers. So you have market share comparisons of athletes compared to other athletes that, at the end of the day, I think it does make sense why these things would end up being legitimate. But kind of like, you talk about Carolina being in position to really latch onto this and take advantage of it. It's kind of like we were talking about, this time last year with the individual state NIL bills that were being passed, where every single one kind of incorporated what the previous ones did, but made it a little bit better. So you're saying, hey, we like what Tennessee did, or we like what Georgia did, or Texas. We're going to do that same thing, and we're going to add a little bit more to it to build an advantage for us. Same kind of thing here. You can say, hey, look, I like what Tennessee got. We would like that, and maybe something even a little bit more if possible, because now we're in position to negotiate these things while, again, Ohio State and Texas and all these other schools are still locked in their deal for X amount of years, left to go.
Yeah, and, some of that is going to be, is your brand as big as Tennessee's? Is it on par with Tennessee's? What promises did Adidas make to Tennessee? And I do think you're gonna have a decision to make, much like the decision that Tennessee just made. Are you willing to go? Do you want to be a more massive priority for, an Adidas or an Under Armour versus being one of many with Nike, but you're willing to do that if that's what the people want and that's what you want your school brand to be attached to? The other part, how much does having a Dawn Staley on this campus, I mean, not to get into politics at all, but she's literally on a podcast with the former First Lady of the United States of America.
Yep.
So she's been on the biggest TV and radio shows that exist. Mm-hmm. How much does that, with the growing landscape of women's basketball?
Sure.
How much, I guess, cachet does that give you if you are South Carolina in all this?
And I want to continue this on the other side, as well as get into the arms race that is now going to become these apparel deals, I feel like, in college sports, because that is an important point that you bring up. But we'll dive more into that coming up on the other side. Also, let us know, Firehouse Subs text on 803-404-6100. Who do you want to see South Carolina end up with, and does it all determine, and does it all come down to what the individual deal is? Let us know, 803-404-6100. It is the Garnet Trust Tower, presented by Krantz Cooling and Heating, Tower and West, on your Thursday on the Game.
All right, guys, allow me to tell you about my great friends over at Classic Roofing, where they want to take care of any and all of your residential and commercial roofing needs and projects. That includes roof inspections, roof installations, roof replacements, and, of course, roof repairs. Head on over to classicroofingsc.com or give them a call, 803-590-7870. Now, if you go over to that website, you can hit the free estimate button. Go ahead and get something set up for them to come out to your home or business and check out that roof right now. Now, what does the free estimate mean? It means they're going to come out, they're going to take a look at your roof. They're going to let you know, hey, are there any problem areas that I need to address right now? Are there any just areas that maybe are something you're going to need to address in the future? And then, of course, the big one, will this roof ultimately be, need to be replaced soon or not? If that sounds like something you want to go ahead and get the peace of mind taken care of, call them today, 803-590-7870.
Welcome back in. It is the Garnet Trust Hour presented by Krantz Cooling and Heating. Tyler Ed and Wes Mitchell with you on your Thursday here on the game. I remind you once again, today, Irma's Little League team gets rolling in Williamsport for the Little League World Series. you can come hang out with Elijah Campbell at Carolina Wings out in Irmo at 1000 Marina Road from 3 until 5, so you can watch their first game of action. Of course, looking forward to seeing them hopefully play for about the next week and a half, and maybe be on the way for a Little League World Series championship to bring back to South Carolina. So, again, today from 3 until 5 at Carolina Wings at 1000 Marina Road out in Irmo. Of course, we're going to be cheering those guys on today and throughout their time in Williamsport.
Pretty awesome. Head on out there, check them out. What time did you say that was, Tyler?
3 to 5. Their game starts at 3 o'clock today.
Definitely will be pulling for them. Hope that they win. What an awesome opportunity for those kids. I was thinking, did y'all have Little League baseball where you grew up, Tyler, or was it Dixie Youth baseball?
We were Dixie Youth. I think in the last couple of years, I drove by my old rec department. I think they're Little League now, but growing up, we were always Dixie Youth.
Yeah, I would always watch the Little League World Series on TV and, like, dream of playing in it. And
you realize you
at some point, my parents were like, even if y'all kept winning, you would not be able to play there. But, yeah, I mean, Dixie Youth was great, too.
Sure.
Very cool for those kids. And South Carolina as a state has really not had many opportunities to go. So
that's only the fourth team, is that correct?
I don't quote me on that.
It hasn't been a lot.
Yeah, it's not been a lot. And awesome just opportunity for those kids, and they earned it. And, no matter what happens at this point, because the competition you're going to face out there is going to be insane. But no matter what happens at this point, you've made a super special memory and something. The thing that fascinates me about all those two, man, is how often, you will have, of course, some of these kids will, like, not go on to be famous baseball players, but then you'll see, 10, 15 years from now or something, there'll be, like, a graphic that'll pop up, and you're watching a random MLB game, and it'll be like, hey, here's Jimmy Smith when he was playing at the Little League World Series. He hit 2 home runs.
Yep. And look, a lot of those guys go on to play other sports as well. One of the biggest cliches we joked about at Georgia was them reminding you that Jake Fromm played in that Little League World Series back in 2006. Yeah. In case you didn't know, he played on that Little League World Series team. Yeah, we remember.
I did not know.
Not 2006. It was 2011. Yeah, 2011.
Didn't Kirby Smart's kid?
He played for a team. They didn't make it to Williamsport. They were in the...
But they made it on TV.
They made it on
regionals,
TV.
Basically, or something?
Yeah, that was last year. They didn't advance all the way to Williamsport. But, yeah, he was on one of those teams last year. So, yeah, you just never know.
I remember him hitting a bomb that went kind of viral, I feel like.
I think, like, Kirby was sitting in the outfield in, like, a lawn chair away from everybody.
Got to.
Or something like that.
I'm sure.
Yeah, I think that was last year if I remember correctly. But, yeah, good luck to Irmo's Little League team. Again, go hang out with Elijah Campbell today from 3 to 5 at Carolina Wings out in Irmo at 1000 Marina Road. Getting back to this conversation that's kind of taken up this hour about apparel deals, and you brought up a really good point because Under Armour has obviously a really good connection with Dawn Staley, who, again, is here, there, and everywhere in terms of media in both sports and outside of it. As you mentioned, her podcast with former First Lady, Michelle Obama there. And, while women's sports and women's basketball does not have the same reach as college football does, obviously, because it's the biggest sport out of all of those in college, Dawn Staley is a huge brand in and of herself. And when she goes somewhere, when she says something, it has an impact. And when you're that brand that is outfitting her for a lot of these things and is always seen on her at games and stuff like that, that's very valuable. And I do wonder, as, again, the Under Armour contract does end at the end of June next year, how much Dawn Staley plays a factor in potentially sticking with Under Armour and maybe making that deal even better than some Under Armour schools, because you have that element of a non-revenue sport for all intents and purposes with this huge personality and Dawn Staley is associated with it.
Yeah, but I'm looking at it from the other side. Nike is synonymous with basketball around the world.
Yep.
How much would being involved with Dawn Staley matter to them? Like I kind of, a lot of people hate this argument, Tyler, about, well, hey, does what you're wearing affect recruiting? And people, most old people, and I put myself in that category now, will be like, who cares about that? It does matter,
Sure.
to an extent, but it seems to me like it matters more in basketball than anywhere.
Yeah.
And so I am more looking at it like, if you are one of those other brands, how tempting is that to then be involved potentially with Dawn Staley? Because for the most part, right now, you look at Dawn Staley at games, I don't know all the different brands, but normally she's wearing some
designer stuff,
designer luxury brand. Like, she has her own style.
Yeah, Louis, Gucci, those kind of things. She doesn't typically wear.
It's not what a typical She is her own. She's her own person, her own brand, her own everything.
Right.
She stands above everyone in terms of that sport, and that goes into the style and fashion arena as well.
And like I've said, when you win national championship, you can wear whatever you want. Nobody's going to complain about it.
So, but how, maybe Dawn Staley says, it would help recruiting if we were a Nike school. Maybe she says, hey, I'll start wearing some Nike to the games if you guys are with us.
You sweeten the pot enough, make it worth their while. Certainly so.
But she may want it for recruiting purposes, is what I'm saying. It may not even be.
So. Yeah,
it may not even be a financial thing. She may just be saying, "Hey, I'm gonna be Team Nike all the way if we could go here because it's going to help in recruiting." And so I think, not just South Carolina, I think any school that has their contract coming up soon has a very interesting decision to make, because there are so many layers to it. And Tennessee clearly went the direction of, I want to go where I'm wanted.
Yeah.
But you look at the teams that are with Adidas, you look at the programs that are with Adidas, there are some big-ish name, Texas A&M is with Adidas.
Miami,
NC State. Louisville.
Yep.
I think St. John's is with basketball, but
sounds correct.
The big hitters are mostly with Nike. So you have to know if you go with Nike, you're going to be behind Ohio State on their pecking order. You're going to be behind Texas. But do you care? Do you care at all?
Sure. Yeah, when you look at the Adidas schools, they all kind of, maybe with the exception of Miami, because that is a very big brand, though it's not quite to the level that it was years ago. A lot of these schools do kind of exist in that, again, second tier-ish of a lot of schools in the Power 4 ranks, where, again, Nike seems to have snatched up most of the A 1A and 1B type schools in the respective conferences. So yeah, you can kind of exist in that same realm of like a Tennessee or like again a A&M or as Arizona State or schools like that, Texas Tech, that have these Adidas deals and hopefully get something in the neighborhood of Tennessee that again has the built-in incentives within NIL to benefit your own athletes. And obviously that's something that you would have guaranteed revenue coming in every single year from that standpoint that can obviously, as we talked about, help you in the long run.
Yeah, and to reiterate from earlier in the show, it may be the most important thing. It does not count towards your rev share.
No.
So
be NIL.
Yes.
The straight NIL.
The straight NIL part does not count towards rev share. And that is going to be like gold for teams, because it is essentially like if you have a salary cap, but then you have this magic way to go over it. Mm-hmm. And whoever can leverage those ideas and those magic, just get kind of, I would say, creative with how to leverage those things, is going to have an advantage. Now, certainly the rules could change in the next 2 years, and maybe we're saying, well, this really wasn't that massive of an advantage. But the way this thing is structured right now, man, a lot of teams went out and they front-loaded, which means they paid a lot of that money ahead of time, which is great for this year. What happens when you go into the next year? You do not have an opportunity to front load. What that means is, let me go ahead and pay half of a player's salary, for lack of better words, now, before rev share went into effect. So for this year, what I paid my high-profile superstar athlete, half of it did not count towards rev share. When I'm building my roster for next year, it's now going to count.
Yeah.
So at least in our current structure, if you had, let's say, $1 million of the Adidas $10 million a year is going directly to NIL. You're effectively your cap just became 21.5 instead of 20.5. And that's built in, that's guaranteed. It's not I have to go chase it, which I think is a huge distinction, because now you can go ahead, in a lot of ways, frankly, you can go ahead and promise that.
Yeah.
Moving forward.
Yeah, well, we'll come back. We'll wrap up the hour to get some of your text on the Firehouse Subs text line, 803-404-6100, as we wrap up the Garner Trust Hour here on Thursday on the Game. Welcome back in. It is the Garnet Trust Hour presented by Krantz Cooling and Heating. Tyler Ed and Wes Mitchell along with you on your Thursday here on the game and talking all about apparel deals in the wake of Tennessee signing with Adidas yesterday, starting in 2026. Again, South Carolina's deal with Under Armour ends at the end of June of next year, and we'll be looking to either re-up with Under Armour or look for a new apparel provider. Appreciate you guys waiting in the Firehouse Subs text line 803-404-6100. Michael says, one, are we the flagship school of Under Armour? And two, I'm over here screaming for Jordan Brand. One, no, Maryland is the flagship school for Under Armour because their founder went to Maryland. And Jordan would be a division of Nike, so that's also possible as well as something that could happen if Carolina does not re-up with Under Armour next year.
Yeah, and I actually am very curious to continue to hear, over the next few weeks, months, whatever, what fans want. I think there is a pretty strong appetite for Nike, and we'll certainly see if that ends up being the case. But I could see some people saying, "Hey, no, just let's go to the highest bidder," essentially. And so that'll be fascinating to see how people feel. By the way, Tyler, also in the sports business world, how about Taylor Swift going on the Kelsey's podcast? I was just reading 10 million views already.
Sounds
Is that going to break the all-time podcast episode record?
Do we know what the record is?
No idea. And I don't even know if there is an official record, but
if there's not, that's got a good shot at being number one. I watched Jason Kelsey's intro for her yesterday. I showed it to my wife, and I thought that was really good. And she announced her new upcoming album on there. So again, all the Swifties tuning in to see what that's all about. So I think that's got a good shot at maybe being the record if it doesn't already exist.
Well, apparently she doesn't do podcasts.
Yeah, no, she doesn't. So, really, when you think about it, she doesn't do a ton of public speaking type of things as much. Like when she was coming up, sure, but now that she's at the top, you don't see her on Kimmel or those late night talk shows a whole lot.
Yeah,
or those kind of things. So hearing from her away from the stage is very rare.
Yeah, so just the crossover there of, the Kelseys, they already have a very popular podcast, but then the crossover of bringing her on, making the announcement, and just talk about kind of supporting each other from a business standpoint. There was, I think 1.3 million people were watching it live when it hit.
Yeah. Didn't they drop it at midnight or something? It was late.
No, it was at some point during the day yesterday.
Okay.
Because I know a friend of mine was actually watching it on YouTube yesterday.
Is your wife a Swiftie?
No.
No, not really?
No. I wouldn't say really at all.
Yeah. No.
She doesn't dislike her, but it's not to the yours.
Well, she's not a extreme Swiftie. She's a fan, and she listens to most of her stuff, but she's not to that next level of what you would deem a Swiftie, I guess.
Yeah.
So she actually didn't really like the last album all that much. The Tortured Poets Society.
You're gonna.
I know. I'm just relaying the information here. I heard maybe a song or two off of it, and I'm like,
you're gonna open her up.
I know.
Instagram DMs, much like Emily Beamer.
Shout out to Coach Beamer, man. Dude, you gotta stand up for your lady. And
no, I want to shout out to Emily Beamer and just throw this out there.
Okay.
If at any point she wants to, just bring those cookies any room I'm in, I'm a chocolate chip cookie. Probably my single favorite sweet that exists on the planet is chocolate chip cookies. So if I don't think Emily Beamer listens to the show, but if she does, I'm always down to sample the cookies, and they looked phenomenal. And honestly, man, if you have enough time in your life to DM a coach's wife about her chocolate chip cookies, we need to get a life. We need to get a life.
That's a go out and touch some grass category at that point.
Absolutely. What are we doing?
Now, it doesn't surprise me that happened because that's just how people are.
It just means more.
I guess it just means more. The cookies mean more too. But yeah, a chocolate chip cookie's hard to turn down. And look, I'm a fan of an underbaked one, by the way. One that just kind of falls apart. You almost have to, like, eat with a fork or a spoon. Like, those are the best kind. A little bit of ice cream there, man. I'm telling you, yes. Mrs. Beamer, if you want to bring those by here, bring a guest on our show and tell us how you make the cookies. We'd be down for that, too.
Always. Did you see the graphic they put out with the big old cookies in the forefront of the graphic? Hilarious. Cookiegate.
Yeah, Cookiegate. Shout out to the social team for that one. But I did find it so funny that Beamer felt the need to address that before anything else. If we're talking about camp, we're talking about scrimmages. Hey, listen, leave my wife alone. The cookies are good.
Got to look out for your woman, man. Like, that's you got to respect it,
or else you're sleeping on the couch.
I thought one of the best moments of the entire Netflix show was that they happened to be there, and it had already gone viral on social anyway when it happened, but they happened to be there when he was singing to her for her birthday.
Yes, I remember that.
That was episode 5 was objectively the best episode of the entire show.
Absolutely.
And it was South Carolina and Beamer and his family and Lenoris as well, just being heavily highlighted. So I thought it was perfect.
Most featured team on any given Saturday, according to the social team. We'll come back and get into the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. 17 days to kickoff. What's the trivia question today? Find out next here on The Game.
All right, guys, let me tell you about our friends over at Krantz Cooling. Weather's been all over the place lately. So we had a false fall, as Tyler called it. The summer is back in play at this point, as we know. And you know what? If you're dealing with HVAC problems, our friends at Krantz are there to help you every single step of the way. KrantzCooling.com is the website. That's Krantz with a K, cooling with a K.com. 803-672-3224 is the number to call if you need to schedule an appointment. You can also do that right there on their website. So whether it is issues with your cooling or as we get into some actual football weather and real fall and then real winter, let's go ahead and make sure we have some preventative maintenance so that your systems are all operating at an efficient level, at a high level, going into the colder months. Krantz Cooling, that's KrantzCooling.com. Krantz with a K, cooling with a K.com.
11 o'clock on your Thursday morning. Welcome in. Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler West Chris along with you here on the game. 17 days, guys. Only 17 more days till South Carolina kicks things off against Virginia Tech in week number 1. And may as well jump right into it. Another day, another trivia question. Now, I think Wes figured out in the last hour what the trivia question was going to allude to.
Oh, no.
Chris, do you have a guess
Hey, that's what you
on the topic?
When you come in and you put in the work.
That's right.
For another hour. Like, I got a teaser the other day. So that's all is fair in love and war. So I was thinking about this. I had really 3 guesses of the direction you may go.
Okay.
You've got, and it's not the exclusive list, but I think you could go Xavier Leggett. You could go Demetrius Knight. You could also go Dylan Thompson.
Could. I did briefly consider Dylan Thompson.
I wish you would have.
You've been brushing up on
I had like, I have a feeling Tyler's going to ask this very specific question that I was going to just nail and blow Wes's mind.
Well,
can you tell us first?
Throw us out there what you thought I was going to ask.
Yeah, and y'all can guess. It'll be fun.
Sure.
I'll get Tyler. You can get a point for no prize.
I can get on the board finally.
You're on the board. You got one, I think, the other day. So, Dylan Thompson's career high in passing yards came in which game, in which year, and the bonus, of course, that I'll award you 10 points, Tyler, if you get it. Wes, if you get the actual amount right, I'll give you a point.
Oh, God.
What's the actual yardage number?
Career high.
Career high in passing yards.
You got anything, Tyler?
I don't even know where to start with that one.
This is a random guess. Was it ECU by any chance?
I think that was like number 2. That's very close. Now, if you thought really hard, Tyler, I wouldn't expect you to know this, but if you thought really hard, Wes,
I didn't.
What was a game that Carolina put up a whole bunch of yards and a good bit of points in the Spurrier era at the height of the Dylan Thompson offense?
Well, now I feel like he's making me feel like I should know this, but
if you go to go ahead. If you go to the 2014 season,
yeah,
a lot of points given up, for sure. Auburn, 2014, 402 passing yards.
My next guess was going to be Auburn or Tennessee.
Yeah.
Those were...
ECU was a solid guess. I think one year he had like 360-something yards against them, so that was a good guess. I think, don't have it in front of me, I think that was number 2. So
yeah, it's a good trivia question.
I was hoping.
Yeah, that's not what I came up with. We did settle on Xavier Leggett for this one.
Are we going all in on the Leggett thing? I feel like...
That's what he says his name is.
Leggett is just so ingrained in my...
I'm trying to wean myself off of Leggett.
Same.
Because apparently it's Leggett. So
I mean, we saw the thing go viral with Dow.
Yes.
He still calls him Leggett.
Yeah, I got a little clip of that we'll play here in a second after we get through the trivia questions.
Does he say Leggett? What was Dow? Yeah. What does he say that Xavier calls him, like in text? Paul.
Like P-A-W.
I thought it was like Bo, but like he was kind of Paul.
Yeah.
Oh. Is that a thing?
I don't know. Maybe.
Is that a thing?
Paul Loggins?
Is that a thing for Dow?
Maybe he can't say Dow. Can he not say Dow? Is Dow, like, with the accent complicated?
That's a D versus a P.
So I don't think anybody else calls Dow that, if that's what you're... That's not like a Dow nickname.
That's like his term of endearment for everybody.
Perhaps.
I think his term of endearment probably for very specific people.
Okay, here's a theory, because Dow's not a name you hear a whole lot. Perhaps when Leggett first heard it, he thought it was Paul and just ran with that the entire time. So he just became Paul to him.
I would actually not rule that out.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Either way.
Anyway.
Let's hit our trivia question
Sorry
here.
about
that. Of course, Xavier Leggett's longest touchdown at South Carolina overall was his 100-yard touchdown or kickoff return against A&M.
Yeah.
What was his longest touchdown reception at Carolina? First right answer gets it.
How many yards or just
yards? Longest yardage-wise touchdown reception in his Gamecock career.
75 yards against Mississippi State.
Is he right?
I don't know. Is he?
I don't know. You said who's first.
Do you
is he right?
Do you want to give an answer?
Yeah, but if I'm wrong, you can give your answer and then.
Yeah, so is he right?
He got one part of that wrong. I'm not going to tell you which part.
Dang. Okay. Dang. 80 yards against Mississippi State.
If we're going to price is right, I got to give it to Chris. It was 76 yards.
Oh, come on.
All right. Yeah.
Mississippi State, though, right?
76 yards against Mississippi State, 2023. That was that crazy high-scoring game. Ran the crosser and that was where I guess we didn't have an appreciation for his breakaway speed at that point in time. You saw it on full display because he just kept gapping those defenders. And I think it was going back and watching. I think Trey Knox picked the DB initially at the beginning of the route. Leggett comes across, catches it in stride. Rattler puts the ball perfectly right out in front of him, and then he just turns on the turbo jets and he's gone.
That's why accuracy matters even for short throws.
Yeah.
Right in stride. But yeah, that was probably seeing, and we knew, even, you knew Leggett was a freak athlete. That was another level of explosiveness. Like, I think I was just sitting there with my jaw dropped. It's an SEC defense, and he just, I don't know. He just took it to another level somehow.
Yeah, I mean, that he had broken out that season already. Like, first two games, it was a loss, but he had 178 yards against UNC. You're kind of going, oh, okay. Then Furman, he has another 118-yard game. They played Georgia, the week before, but that was kind of the moment. That was the Xavier. He had some other ones, He had that kickoff return. The bowl game the previous year, he had that great, toe tap on the Spencer Rattler ball. One of the best throws I've ever seen still by a South Carolina quarterback. But that was the moment where you're like, oh, this is a little different.
Quickly, before we get to this cut from Dow Loggins, bonus question. In that senior season, he had 71 receptions. How many total receptions did he have in the 4 prior years? Price is right. Closest answer.
It's a really good one. At one point, I feel like I knew this. 18.
It's more than that. Total
in the prior 4 years that he was at Carolina.
38.
42. Close.
God, I way undersold him.
He had 18 the prior year, 8 in 21, 7 in 20, and 9 back in 2019.
Okay. I think one of the funny things about sports is how we revisionist history things about the way we feel about a player or his career or a season after the season versus the way people thought or the expectations going into a season. I mean, we even see it with Sellers right now. When you look at the totality of his season, there were people basically going into the midway point last year. I'm not saying everybody agreed with this, but there were people going, hey, is this guy really it?
Yeah.
And now he's a legitimate Heisman favorite.
Yep.
And with Leggett, as much as we dig on this stuff, as much as we try to figure out what's going on in camp, yes, there were people saying, hey, Leggett's ready to break out. Leggett's going to break out. I mean, don't y'all remember kind of just thinking, well, we've kind of heard that before. Like, we've heard, this kid, people were bragging about Leggett from the moment he arrived on campus. Like, this guy looks different.
Mm-hmm.
And, I know you said you're going to play it here, but Dow made a good point. Like, he stuck around when a lot of guys just leave. And so I just think it's kind of funny. He had one of the best seasons in South Carolina football history, and it was a little bit just kind of like chalked up preseason. Well, that's kind of camp talk. That's camp talk.
Right.
And he went out and did it from day one. I think the A&M game maybe the only one it feels like where he was kind of held in check for the most part. It was week in, week out during that season.
And again, Dow Loggins was on the drive with Josh Graham yesterday on WSJS out of North Carolina. And I'm going to play the back half of this because the whole thing's about 4 minutes long. I don't have time for that. But here's him telling the story of Leggett giving him his first NFL touchdown game ball.
And so I go in my office, and there's a football, and there's a piece of tape on it. And I 17 years in the NFL, I know what I'm like. That's a game ball. What is it? So I pick it up, and it said to D-Lo, I want you to have my first touchdown ball. And so I call him. I said, X, I can't keep this. And he says, hey, I really got no one else to give it to. You believed in me, and I'm not here without you. And he's in the first round of the draft, and I'm sitting there, and I had to go shut my door because I'm bawling. I'm crying. It's like, but you talked about outside my wife and my kids, the best, like, memorabilia or whatever. I got Cutler, who I love, Frank Gore in my office, Hathaway. That is the earthly possession that I value the most because it was a special relationship with a kid that just wanted an opportunity.
And again, the whole thing's about 4 minutes long. You can find it on Twitter. But he talks about, hey, when he got here, Leggett, again, looked like this physical specimen that just wasn't getting a lot of look in the offense that he played in prior. And, he even brought up Dow Loggins like, hey, maybe I need to go somewhere else to get my opportunity. And D'Lo was like, hey, wait a minute, give me some time, let me figure this out. And obviously the rest is history. But, Dow Loggins believing in him is why Xavier Leggett, again, giving him his game ball there, believes that he got to the point where he is today, where he's a first-round draft pick and now playing for the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, I mean, that was an awesome story, pretty special moment there for those two guys. And, it did, I think, take somebody kind of just believing in him and saying, hey, we got a guy here. Let's go feature him. And Leggett actually took advantage of that, as well. And, credit to him. Here's a bonus. Chris, are you looking at Leggett's Wikipedia right now by any chance?
No, I'm not.
Okay. I got a half-point bonus opportunity.
Okay, another. You're at 21.25 now, so this could get you to 21 and a half.
You're really doing quarter points? Wow.
Okay. Yeah. I was kidding about that yesterday. He can have the full half point.
Okay. All right.
So what is the score, by the way, Todd?
It is 22 to 21.25.
Gah.
21 and a half.
21 and a half. All right.
He just gifted.
Wait, so I'm giving him an opportunity to tie me?
I guess so.
Yeah, that makes it even better.
Do you want to change your mind?
Did you give me my half?
Yeah, I did. You were at 21 and a half. You're now at 22.
Okay, chance to tie.
Thank you.
What is Xavier Leggett's first name?
Oh, I have no idea.
I'm actually curious now.
Is it something weird or like kind of normal? Is it more like Richard, or it's like
It's not Richard.
a name befitting?
It is. I'm not answering that.
I don't know.
Anthony. Just
very normal name.
very standard name.
It's standard.
Anthony Xavier Leggett. According
Leggett.
Guys, I'm still going Leggett.
It's hard to break. I get it.
He's been. I mean, Beamer calls him Leggett. Dow calls him Leggett. How much of the pronunciation of his last name sounds a little bit different because of his accent? Every word sounds a little bit different.
Maybe. It's a fair point.
Yeah, no, I mean, all I know is when he introduces himself, it's Xavier Leggett. I mean, but
yeah,
he also calls people Paul.
That's true. Anyway, 17 days to kick off. There's a trivia question. We'll talk to Josh McCuston of Soonerscoop.com.
Maybe.
Coming up next. We'll try. Phones were acting up yesterday. We'll try that coming up next as the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs rolls along here on the game.
All right, who out there is hungry? If you need a great lunch option, you already know what we're going to say. FirehouseSubs.com, Firehouse Subs app. Go either of those places. The app's my favorite. It's our favorite around here because you can go on there, place your order for lunch, dinner, or even catering. You're going to be able to see where the closest Firehouse Subs to you is. 17 locations, probably going to continue to grow that number, all around the Midlands. So no matter where you are in the Midlands, there's a Firehouse Subs close to you. Go check them out today. Delicious food, great people. Shout out to Larry Chandler, owner and operator of all of those 17 Firehouse Subs locations. The hot sauce bar is back. They've got the limited time only offering of the smoking barbecue triple sack. That's available in the classic or the Carolina Gold barbecue sauce. I've had them both, love them both. And of course, all of your Firehouse Subs favorites. Again, you can use the Rapid Rescue to go when you go to firehousesubs.com or the app. Register for a free account. Earn rewards towards future purchases. Firehousesubs.com.
All right, welcome back in. It is the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler West Chris along with you here on your Thursday. We're efforting Josh McCuston of Soonerscoop.com. We'll patiently wait and see if we can get in touch with him. We're having some trouble with our phones as of right now. But I'll remind you once again, by the way, again, today, Irma's Little League team taking part in the World Series out in Williamsport. And you can go hang out with Elijah Campbell at the watch party at Carolina Wings at 1000 Marina Road in Irmo from 3 until 5 today. Again, for their first game as they get rolling out there in Williamsport. And Chris, as we talked about last week, a team that we can hopefully watch for about the next week and a half to kind of bridge that final gap before we get into football season.
Are there other games going on today, too?
It should be starting like at 1. They usually have them all day because they had international games yesterday. So should have kind of the same deal today, 1, 3, I guess 5, and 7.
Go Irma.
Yeah.
They put up there was something earlier that they put up about I don't know if it's maybe like, what do you call it, fan sentiment or something like that for the buzz rankings. So, yeah, I guess it's fan sentiment. But the Little League World Series buzz rankings as far as, like, the views and likes that these teams, like some individual teams, have generated. Irmo, South Carolina, blowing everybody away. And, 543,000 views and 6,000 likes. Lamar, Texas is up next, and they're like half or a third of all that. So,
well, when you have a walk-off to send yourself to the, I was about to say College World Series, the Little League World Series, that's
America's team.
Yep.
Irmo.
They're coming up today at 3 o'clock. We finally got our guy, Josh McCuiston of Soonerscoop.com on the line. Josh, first of all, appreciate you taking your time, and we'll be quick with you here. Only got a few minutes, but busy week, obviously, from Oklahoma from the standpoint of not only being 18th in the preseason poll, but all this chaos going on with John Mateer and people digging into his Venmo of the past. How are things out in Norman this week?
Yeah, when you look at it, and you guys know how this goes, I didn't wake up Monday morning and think, we're going to talk about John Mateer's Venmo for a good portion of this week. So, that caught me a little off guard, but it has been. It's been, what I will say for Oklahoma fans, I think they'll take this fall camp over last year's, where basically every time we wrote a story, it was like new player injured, new players lost for the season. Like, it was just catastrophic last year. And they're like, okay, we can deal with John Mateer's Venmo. So I think it's a trade OU fans are living with right now.
Yeah, and so let's go on the field a little bit. This is Wes. Appreciate you joining us, man. What are you guys hearing out of camp? Just, you can take that any direction you want. Has there been a storyline or two just in terms of either Mateer's progression or the team in general that has maybe stolen the headlines there locally?
I think really what everybody is watching, and I think everybody that watched Oklahoma knows, watched them last year, it's the offensive line. What's going to happen there? Because if John Mateer is what you think he can be, and Jaden Ott can go and be the guy that he was a couple of years ago at Cal, where, he was a legit NFL draft prospect coming into last season, I think we know this defense is going to be pretty good. I think everybody kind of accepts that. So if this offensive line, it doesn't have to be top 5 in the SEC. It just has to hold water. It has to be okay and not something. You guys saw it in Norman last year. So, OU had no answers for South Carolina. So I think if they can be okay, and it sounds like they like their depth. I'm waiting to hear that story of, okay, the 5 are starting to come together. We're starting to figure out who it's going to be. And I think they're locked in probably at center and at one of the guards, but there's still some question marks there. The difference from last year is I think the talent's there. I think they've got to figure out who the 5 are. And to me, that is that's going to dictate where this season goes, where if OU has another year like last year where they're trying to make a bowl late in the year, or if maybe they're kind of one of these dark horse playoff teams.
Josh, it's Chris. Thanks for your time, man. So looking at Brent Venables', tenure there, 3 years at Oklahoma, 2 6-7 seasons with the 10-win season sandwiched in between, and it really struck me visiting Norman for the first time last year. You go around, you got kind of the Heisman Trophy plaza, so to speak. You got all the banners up, all the signage, just how tradition-rich this program is. And I remember you telling us last year the expectations going into the year, and they were pretty high. Obviously, the team didn't meet them. So am I correct in thinking that this is kind of a make-or-break year maybe for Brent Venables out there?
I don't think there's any question. To me, the question I get most frequently from Oklahoma fans is, what's the breaking point? What is the amount of wins where he's safe? And I think the bare minimum is 8, which at a place like Oklahoma, that's an insane thing. I mean, like, fans are like, I can't believe I'm saying this, but yeah, like we take 8. But when you look at this schedule, all the game, there's just a lot of hills to climb. I think in the initial, coaches poll, I think there were 9 SEC teams ranked. Oklahoma plays 6 of them. It's kind of wild, and so I think. There is no question. This is a season that I don't think it's just about this year. I think this could have a large role in what OU does for the next 4 or 5 years, because if it goes badly, they're starting over, and they do that while this recruiting class is not where you want it to be. Obviously, you're going to lose some of the big pieces of that if there's a staff change. Next year in Oklahoma is one of the best years I've ever seen in the state of Oklahoma. There are something like 7, 8 top 300 guys in the country, which is it's unusual in the state of Oklahoma. So they need to hit that and build for the future. So there's a lot riding on this season going well, and if it does, 2026 could be a really good year, because this team should return a lot, if they can keep the wheels on in 2025.
Again, talking to Josh McCuston of Soonerscoop.com. Got about 3 more minutes here before you hit the break. One of the guys in that depleted wide receiver room last year was Deion Burks. We didn't get to see him because he was already injured by the time the Carolina game rolled around, but he was an absolute weapon for explosive plays at Purdue. Now that he's finally seemingly back to full health, what is he capable of in this offense this year for Oklahoma?
They need him to be the number 1 guy, because I like the receiver room. I think there's some good pieces there, but I don't think it doesn't have the blend of experience and talent they had last year. Losing Jalil Farouk to Maryland, losing Nick Anderson, who's tremendously gifted, to LSU. Those are tough losses to replace, and so I think Deion is going to have to step in a role. Now, he's still, almost since he's been in Norman, injuries have been a problem. He's been nicked up a little bit this fall. Now he's back out there now. Obviously Oklahoma's hoping everything is going to be fine. I think they're trying to kind of treat him with kids' gloves. They like you said, they know what they have. It's just about getting him to the season, letting him be healthy. But again, they have guys who can be number 2 options, can be number 3 options. If it's not him, someone's going to have to emerge that maybe is going to have to be a year ahead of schedule, or is a guy that maybe is better than we think he is. They need something to happen if Deion Burks isn't going to be that number 1 guy.
Well, we're certainly looking forward to seeing Oklahoma coming in here, coming up in October. Should be a fun matchup, and hopefully both these teams are still ranked at that point in time. We'll get a good game in Willie B.
Yeah, I honestly can't wait to see that game. South Carolina has always been a place I've wanted to see one.
Josh, we appreciate your time, and thanks for dealing with our technical problems. We appreciate it.
Hey, anytime, guys. Enjoyed it.
It is the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, presented by Firehouse Subs. Hour rolls on. Coming up next on your Thursday here on The Game. Welcome back in. It is the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler West Chris along with you on your Thursday here on the game. You guys weren't in here yesterday, so we didn't get a chance to really dive into what Coach Beamer had to say on Tuesday for his presser. But I wanted to play one clip because, and I believe Elijah's the one that asked the question about things that he thought this team had improved on from what they've seen so far in camp compared to maybe last year. And he brought up situational football, and this is what he had to say the other day.
Mainly just because Lenoris is a little bit older. Not a little bit. He is older than what he was last year. He's a year older. So, yeah, he knew that. But, in the afternoon, so we practice in the mornings, and then there's a break now that our players have where the coaches go and watch tape. And then in the afternoons, we do a walkthrough at 4. We start meeting, we do a special teams meeting and offense, defense meetings around 4. And then about 5:20, we have a walkthrough in the indoor that we do for about 45 minutes. And we always finish up the walkthrough each day with some sort of situational football aspect. And there were some days last year where having a new quarterback, whether it be Lenoris or Robbie, and it's their first time going through a lot of those scenarios. There were a couple of walkthroughs where I blew a gasket last year, and because it wasn't getting operated and we didn't make good decisions. Not that we're perfect, myself included, because you're always learning and trying to be better in those situations. We did something today that clockwise that, I learned from as well. But I think we're so much farther along from that standpoint where Lenoris goes out there and we do the same thing that we did last year, and it's just, and he's just a machine at it. And Luke, really good. And, they remembered that walkthrough last year didn't go as well. And Luke kind of grabbed me afterwards. He's like, we got your back this year, Coach. Like, we're good. We're so much farther along. And he's right. We spent a lot of time on it, just like last year. And we spent so much time talking about it throughout the season. I think we're farther along, at least at the quarterback position. Now, you still got freshman receivers and freshman defensive backs that haven't done that. But at least when your quarterback is more experienced, it goes a long way.
And that's a part of the development process this offseason that maybe we haven't talked about quite as much because a lot of the focus is his work with Shulin, fine-tuning the specific, mechanical parts of being a quarterback. But there's also something to be said about having been there and done that before, having seen an entire year's worth of games as a starter now, getting put in situations, understanding what to do, where to go, and what each situation calls for, that now as you're going through these same kind of scenarios in camp leading up to the season, once again, it seems like it's a lot more efficient, and those kind of things that, again, you don't necessarily notice as much when the games get here, but that's a part of the development process that you can see from Coach Beamer saying that is night and day from a year ago.
Well, I also wonder how much just last offseason compared to this offseason factors into that. We pretty much knew he was going to be the starting quarterback last year, and certainly by now we did. But, he hadn't officially won the job yet for part of last offseason. This year, you spend the entire offseason as the guy. Nobody has any doubts in that locker room about who the starting quarterback is. So, you're running the player run practices. You're setting those things up. We know, because Lenoris has told us himself, that he acknowledges, hey, I'm not the most vocal guy in the world, but I'm working on that. I'm trying to be a little bit more of a vocal leader. So I do wonder how much doing all that this entire offseason compared to last offseason just kind of has made him more comfortable in those walkthrough settings. And, I was actually listening back to what Greg McElroy was telling us earlier in the week just about the question you asked him, Tyler, about being on the same page with your wide receivers and knowing exactly where they're going to be. I just think there's probably a comfort level. Not that it's the same exact guys all across the board on offense. We know that's never going to be the case year to year. But you just have a guy at the helm right now who is incredibly confident and is probably 100% more just comfortable in his own skin directing those walkthroughs, I would say probably compared to this time last year.
Yeah, and I'd kind of tie that in, too. I mean, this has to do with Lenoris, but it also has to do with just the offense in general. Talking about situational football, Here's a stat that I think we knew this, but when you go back and actually review it, it is alarming. Statistics can be liars sometimes, but red zone scoring is not. You know, if you get into the red zone and you're not scoring at a high clip, that's a bad stat, right? So look at last season. South Carolina struggled in this department. 47 trips to the red zone. USC scored, any score, just under 79% of the time. So that was second to last in the league, 106 nationally. That's a number, that's a situation. You're in the red zone, it's time to score.
And when that's encompassing all scores, field goals, touchdowns, everything.
Well, those are the only ones I guess you can get.
Well,
but yeah. Field goals,
not just talking about touchdowns.
Because I said any score, but you know, field goal, touchdown, right?
Yeah.
So number one, you want to score at a higher clip when you get in the red zone. And I'm sure that's something they're harping on. But the other side of that is, and you hear coaches say this a lot, you get down there, you want to score touchdowns, not field goals, right? So field goals would have been better than a 0 in those situations, but you want to score a touchdown. So the Gamecocks, only 27 of those 47 trips, they got touchdowns as opposed to another outcome, which would be, of course, a field goal or a turnover on downs, whatever it may be. So that's an area I think you got to get better in. That's a key situation.
How many of their turnovers were in the red zone last year?
Don't have that. That would have been a good follow-up.
That's a little tougher stat to pull, but I mean, there was definitely a few that I'm trying to recollect where all of them were last year. But there was a couple for sure.
Well, and sometimes that stat right there will be affected by what is your red zone approach? Like, are you a take the points? And I know some of this will be very game flow specific, opponent specific, but just in general, coaches kind of have their tendencies on that. If it is 4th and goal from the 2, some coaches are going to say, hey, I just want the points.
Yep.
Some coaches are going to say, no, I came this far, I want 7. And then that's going to, over time, you know, possibly skew that number a little bit on both sides. Like your scoring percentage itself, encompassing all scorers, maybe goes down a little bit. You hope your touchdown percentage maybe rises a little bit. But, you know, I think all those are factors in that. But you can't really argue against, what did you say, 106 in the country?
Yeah, and second to last in the league.
That's got to get better, regardless of how you compare your different approaches down there.
I think that's a good point. That's the one way in which the stat can be a liar is that, you know, if you're on the 25 and you got a 4th and 1 and you can't pick up, a 4th and 1 if you want to, instead of kicking a 42-yard field goal, let's keep this thing going. You know, or like you said, Wes, if you're on the 2, let's go score. We're at the 2, we should be able to score here. That can skew it a little bit, but even if you
25,
take out,
you're not going to be counted in the red zone.
That's right, 20. But if you even taking those situations out, again, that's a number that's got to get better.
Yeah, I agree. I think do y'all agree with the school of Steve Spurrier? 1-7 is better than 2 3s.
Yeah, I would agree. The math.
I mean, the math, but that's a complete oversimplification.
Yeah, no, I get it.
If it's 4th and goal from the 2, do y'all say go for it?
Is that your philosophy in college football? 25 or 26? If you're in a 4th and goal from 2 or less, are you going for it? Or are you kicking the field goal?
I'm going for it almost every time, unless I'm playing an opponent that I just feel like I absolutely need the points.
Now, what's your play call in that situation? Do you have a go-to?
Depends on their defense. I actually typically 4th and 2, I'm going to spread them out, actually.
Okay. I've had a lot of success with fullback dive. You can usually get about 2-3 yards out of that. Anything 1 or less, like 1 or inches, quarterback sneak every time. Works. Unless they just load the box, then it works every time.
I'm gathering data on I've never played Tyler.
Well, you've talked about it. We're supposed to have some kind of tournament or something that's just never happened, man.
Yeah. But we could play each other without there being a tournament.
Yeah, you don't have to set up a tournament.
I've got to admit, though, I have not played. I got a little bit addicted to that first game when it came back for a stretch, and I was like, all right, I got to stop playing this stupid thing so much.
I just got back into playing a couple weeks ago, kind of knocked the rust off a little bit, but I'm back in form now. We're looking good. I'm a long drive guy. I'm going to go 15 plays and eat up 12 minutes.
Army?
So be
Army
prepared
style?
for that. No, just a lot of short stuff.
Georgia, of course.
Yeah.
You're not wrong. But I do play with Carolina, too. They're fun.
Do you run the ball as Georgia so you don't have to yell at Mike Bobo?
I run the ball constantly.
Paul.
My MO.
I have so much info now on his approach.
Yeah, see?
About his stack gathering intel.
Boys. We'll come back and wrap up the hour. Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs here on the game. Welcome back in. It is the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler West, Chris, wrapping up the hour here on your Thursday. Came across something yesterday that I found interesting. Sandstorm was under attack. The guys over at Outkick were not pleased with South Carolina's football stadium tradition, but no fear. Our guy, Josh Pate, came to the rescue.
Sandstorm. When you tell me that one of your best and biggest rituals as a college football program is a Dutch techno song that came out in 2000 that became popular for you in 2009, I'm thinking to myself, you need better traditions if that's the case. It looks cool, Josh. It sounds great. You know, it gets the fans on their feet. It gets them going. I can't buy into that. That is the thing that bothers me. Much like Kroger Field to Kentucky, Sandstorm to South Carolina encapsulates that program.
Darude. Let me gather myself. We're live. I don't want to say anything that I'll regret, or we'll get us thrown off the air. Listen, I don't care how it started. I don't care where it started. South Carolina owns that song now. So wherever it came from, whatever the country of origin is, Sandstorm is rooted now in Columbia, South Carolina at Williams-Brice Stadium. And here's what I appreciate about them. I'm going to speak for Gamecock Nation now. I'm going to hop on the cockaboose. It's not even Cocktober. And I want to tell you, we don't care what you think about our pregame rituals. We don't care what you think about our songs. We don't care what you think about our in-stadium environment. I guarantee you can't hear in here on third down, though. I guarantee you that. Even if they put us at noon, I guarantee you can't hear in here. South Carolina is the most underrated home field environment in all of college football, and there is nothing that the young men on either side of me in this three-box setup on my Zoom screen could tell me to convince me otherwise.
As the kids like to say, where's the lie? I think he hit all the main points there.
My favorite part about that entire exchange, though, obviously you couldn't see it on the radio, was as they were trashing Sandstorm, Josh Pate started like rocking like a, I don't know, like a patient or something. Like you could feel it building up.
Had to put his hands over his mouth.
Yeah, he was like, how do I go off on these guys without getting kicked off this show? I feel like. So I already saw Justin King said download, like we're going to use that in some future production.
The power was like rising in Pate as they went on there.
Pate now a partner with On 3.
Yes.
Yes.
You guys have been getting everybody.
Ross Dellinger has just dropped his first column.
Yeah. McMurphy, though people here locally not loving him so much right now.
Well, right now.
Yeah.
McMurphy is a little bit of a hater of South Carolina, I feel like.
Yeah. Official.
Yeah. At least in the past 2 weeks.
He's got that label.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I do not agree whatsoever with that take. I'm with Pate. I mean, some other school, like, what is it? Wisconsin's got Jump Around, which that song probably came out before we were born. Well, Tyler was born like a lot more recent than we were. Yeah, last year.
Did it come out in like 90? What? When did it come out
whatever,
in the 80s?
but it's a song.
Yeah.
You know, like a bunch of people have songs.
Sure.
And
when did 2001 Space Odyssey come out?
Yeah.
No.
Right.
When the movie came out, however many years ago. 70s maybe?
Right.
60s?
Like, that's the thing. Like, they didn't touch, you need better traditions. Like, you mentioned 2001. That's a tradition that's been around a long time. That's pretty cool. I mean, what about, Clemson drives up on a bus.
Well,
you know,
and Sandstorm became an organic thing, right? It's not
so
like
Dreher High School.
That's right.
Yeah, it's not like they said, "Hey, this is our thing now. I want you guys to wave towels." Like it happened organically because of that Thursday night game against Ole Miss in 2009. It just happened, and those are the best traditions that just happen because the crowd just makes them happen, not because someone tells you that it's the new thing now.
Well, and I think the way Josh said it, like South Carolina owns Sandstorm. You have to own your traditions, you know, and certain things take off, certain things don't. You really can't manufacture them. I remember distinctly, you know, Spurrier did a lot of great things.
I knew you were going to bring that up.
I remember being at the, I guess it was a pep rally, and they used to do a street pep rally to start the season for the coaches show.
Okay.
It used to be, the coaches show used to be at Wild Wing Cafe, which is closed now.
Yep.
But they would shut down the street, and I remember Spurrier saying, "Yeah, you know, we're gonna do this thing that Penn State does, basically." And he tried to start. He loved the the We Are Penn State or the We Are Marshall.
Yeah.
And he tried to start the We Are Carolina. And it just never.
It bombed.
It never took
People,
off.
like, played along and did it, like, and you do, like, the fist pump.
Yeah.
And, like, people were doing it, but even they were all, like, looking around at each other. Like,
aren't we just copying somebody else?
Am I doing this right?
Yeah. And
I didn't know that. That's funny.
I think even Spurrier was like, okay, I guess that didn't work.
Yeah, it's like giving yourself a nickname. You can't do that. It just has to happen.
Yeah, do y'all feel like the go fight win during the opening kickoff has like disappeared because of Sandstorm?
It's dissipated.
You don't hear
Maybe not disappeared, but dissipated.
That used to be
that was a big thing.
A big thing. Now, not anymore.
Yeah, it's not. But
bring it back.
Yeah.
Do you know what that is, Tyler?
I don't know.
Exactly. You would know.
I don't think it's been here since I've been here. I don't know. But shout out to Josh Pate, stand up for Sandstorm. That'll do it for the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, presented by Firehouse Subs here in the game.
All right, everyone, as we close out Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, we'll take one more chance, one more opportunity to tell you about our friends over at Firehouse Subs. They're presenting sponsor every day of the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, 17 locations and growing around the Midlands with our guy Larry Chandler, Big South Carolina.